Okay, so right now, the stock market is basically the biggest party on planet Earth. The music's loud, everyone's having a great time, but you need to know something. While we're all on the dance floor, four of the absolute smartest people in the entire room are quietly, very quietly slipping out the back door. And they're not just leaving the party. Oh no, they are building an ark. They are making billion-dollar bets that a flood is coming. So the question is, what do they know that we don't? Let's follow the money.
Look, this isn't some random dude on YouTube yelling that the sky is falling. These are the legends, the people who didn't just survive the last few financial meltdowns, they literally made fortunes from them. So who are these four horsemen of the financial apocalypse?
First up, you've got Warren Buffett, the Oracle himself. Then there's Michael Burry. Yeah, the guy they made a whole movie about because he saw 2008 coming when absolutely no one else did. We've also got Borgo Brenda, who runs the World Economic Forum. This guy sees the entire global chessboard. And finally, Ray Dalio, a hedge fund king who studies economic history like it's a crime scene. Each one of them is looking at the exact same storm, but from a totally different window.
Let's start with the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. This guy doesn't do scary interviews or dramatic tweets. He's way more of a show-don't-tell kind of billionaire. And what he is showing us with his money right now, well, it should have every single alarm bell you own going off.
Just look at this number, $382 billion. That is how much cash Warren Buffett has decided to pull out of the market and just sit on. I'm going to say it again because it just sounds fake. $382 billion. This isn't just him being a little cautious. This is the largest pile of cash he has ever held. Ever. He's not building a financial fortress. He's built a Death Star made of pure cash.
To put that into perspective for you, Buffett's rainy day fund is bigger than the entire yearly economy of countries like Portugal or New Zealand. He has more cash on hand than 170 nations. This is not playing defense. This is hoarding cannonballs because he sees a war coming over the horizon. So what exactly is he seeing?
Well, it all comes down to his favorite secret weapon, the Buffett indicator. It's a really simple metric that asks a simple question. How much does the entire stock market cost compared to the size of the actual real economy? Think of it like the price tag for the whole market. And right now, that price tag is screaming a huge, terrifying number, 220%.
Now, 220% might just sound like a number. So let me give you some context. Remember the dot-com bubble? Back in 2000, right before everything went up in smoke, the indicator peaked at 130%. We are almost double that level of insanity. We are so far into uncharted territory, we basically sailed off the edge of the map. In Buffett's world, the market isn't just a little expensive, it is completely detached from reality.
All right, so next up is Michael Burry. You know, Christian Bale from The Big Short, the guy who listens to heavy metal in his office and somehow sees financial disasters before anyone else. Well, he's back. And he is placing another one of his classic, everyone thinks I'm absolutely nuts, but I'm going to be proven right, bets.
So the entire world right now is screaming from the rooftops, AI, AI, AI. Stocks like Nvidia are on an absolute rocket ship to another galaxy. And what is Michael Burry doing? He's standing on the launch pad, placing a nearly $1 billion bet that this entire rocket is about to spectacularly explode.
Now, to be clear, Burry isn't saying AI is a bad idea. He's saying the price of AI is a ridiculously bad idea. His superpower is something called, and get ready for the jargon, structural distortion analysis. It's basically the art of finding the one fatal flaw, the one loose screw in the entire machine that everyone else is just ignoring. In 2008, that screw was bad mortgages. Today, he's betting that screw is the wild fairy tale price tag on these AI stocks.
So we've got Buffett, who sees the entire market as one giant bubble, and Burry, who sees a specific bubble in AI. But our next two giants, Borge Brende and Ray Dalio, they're looking at the foundation of the entire building. And what they see is a ticking time bomb made of debt.
Borge Brende, the guy running the World Economic Forum, he says we're basically juggling three bubbles at once. You got crypto, you got AI, and you got debt. But he's super clear about this. Crypto and AI, they're just the shiny distractions. The real monster, the disease that's making everything else sick, is the debt. We're talking more government debt right now than at any time since the end of World War II.
And this is where it gets really scary. Governments around the world are backed into a corner with two horrible choices. Behind door A is an instant financial heart attack. Just admit you can't pay your bills and let the entire system implode overnight. Behind door B is a slow, painful cancer. Just print endless mountains of money to pay the debts and watch as inflation eats away at everyone's life savings. And guess what? They picked door B.
And this is where Ray Dalio steps in and says, guys, I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends. He argues that what we're seeing is just the predictable final scene of a 75-year debt cycle. Think of it like a credit card. At first, it's great. Then you borrow a little more. Then you get to the point where you're just paying off the interest. And finally, you hit your limit, the card gets declined, and the bank starts calling. We're at the bank is calling stage. The only thing left now is a full system reset.
Dalio's metaphor for what the central banks are doing is it's perfect. He says they're injecting steroids into a bubble. They know it's going to pop eventually, but instead of letting the air out gently, they're pumping it up to make the final explosion as big and as messy as humanly possible. It is financial malpractice on a global scale.
Okay, so we have an overvalued market, a specific AI bubble, and a global debt crisis ready to blow. The whole thing sounds like it could collapse tomorrow morning. But here's the twist. The crash isn't the very next step. There's one last deceptive trap.
So this is the million-dollar question, right? Probably a trillion-dollar question. If these 4 certified geniuses are all prepping for doomsday, should the rest of us just sell every single thing we own and go build a bunker in the woods?
And the terrifying answer is no. Not yet. Because first we have to survive the most dangerous, the most seductive part of any bubble in history. It's called the melt-up.
A melt-up is the final insane party on the Titanic just before it hits the iceberg. It's when the central banks turn on the fire hoses of cash one last time, and this triggers a wave of FOMO, fear of missing out, so intense that everyone who was sitting on the sidelines, scared to invest, suddenly dives in head first. This creates one last insane vertical price surge that feels like free money, right up until the moment the floor gives out and the trapdoor swings open.
So if the melt-up is the final party, what's the signal that it's about to end? What's the one thing that finally shuts the music off and turns the lights on? What is the trigger?
Here's how it goes down. The final dominoes. Step 1. Central banks print a ton of money to fuel that melt-up party. Step 2. All that new cash chasing the same amount of stuff makes everything in the real world, gas, groceries, get more expensive. Inflation comes roaring back. Step 3. The central banks panic. They have no choice. They have to kill inflation, so they are forced to turn off the money printer and jack up interest rates. The cheap money that was fueling the whole party vanishes. The music stops, and boom.
And that right there is the most important takeaway from all of this. You need to stop looking for a specific date on a calendar. The crash isn't an appointment, it's a condition. The moment you see inflation really start heating up again, forcing the people in charge to slam on the brakes, that's your signal. That is the fire alarm. That's the trigger.
So Buffett, Burry, Brende, and Dalio, they've basically laid out the entire map for you. They see the overvaluation, they see the systemic flaws, and they see the final sequence of events. They are getting ready. The only question left is, will you be?